Hello, I'm Sarah Saint-Laurent, and I am so happy to welcome you here. Today, I'm going to share a method I use to draft the bones of a book effortlessly and eagerly in one day to ensure that I can publish my book within 90 days. The method is mind mapping. I use the mind mapping technique when I'm consulting in business development and looking for change and ways to implement change and actually creating those initiatives. But it is also easily used in the book writing and publishing arena. So again, welcome, and let's go ahead and just dive into this. This is a simple method for crafting the bones of your book in one day so you can complete your nonfiction draft in 90 days. So where do you need to begin? What we really need to do is begin with the idea. So what I'd like you to do is get out a blank piece of paper. And in the middle of that paper, I want you to put what you think is your idea for a book in the middle of that page. And believe me, I know what you're thinking. Okay, Sarah, but where does that idea come from? How do I generate that idea? Well, the way you want to generate the ideas for your personal genius nonfiction book so you can attract your ideal readers and your ideal clients is to focus on 5 different things. 1, what are you paid to do? What are you currently being paid to do? Because if you're being paid to do something, then you are an expert at that. Number 2, what are you good at doing? You may be an expert in one thing and you may be getting paid to do that, but there's probably something that you may even be better at that you are not currently doing in exchange for a salary or a commission or a payment from a client. What is that thing? Number 3, repeated conversations that you personally find yourself being involved in all the time. What are people finding you and discussing with you all the time? Or what's popping up in your own mind all the time and you can't help but talk about it? That is an idea for a book. If you're talking about it, other people are talking about it. So why don't you become the authority in that topic? Number 4, what is your passion, your hobby, or your talent? For all I know, you might practice feng shui. I had a revelation by a client recently that she is a stand-up comedian. Okay, I said that's an area of genius that we need to bring into your book. For all I know, you study quantum physics, and that would be a great addition to this book. Number 5, what are people always asking you advice about? People are constantly coming with this particular question and they want your opinion. Those are the areas that you want to start with. So going back to the blank piece of paper, in the center of it, I want you to write the idea. I do not want you to even spend 10 minutes fleshing this out. I want you to just jot down what's popped into your mind, even if it's only a fragment, because that is enough. This is part of the process. Just look at those 5 idea generating topics and put the idea in the middle of the page. So now what you need to do is start thinking what is important about this topic, because we're going to be doing mind mapping. Why is this topic important? Why is it important to you? Why is it important to others? Why this topic? Think about the who, the what, the how. Who likes it? Who doesn't like it? Who does it? Who tends not to do it? Why? Why do they like it? Why do they not like it? Where? Where are these people doing this? Where is it popular? Where it is not popular? Who might be triggered by this idea? Who might be empowered by this idea? How is it done? Are there techniques and processes? Is there skill building involved? Is additional education need to be sought out? In fact, are you the educator in this topic? And you're about to start educating us. So ask yourself, are you the expert in this field? Can you teach the methods, the process, the techniques that everyone needs to know? Everyone's looking for. Now, what are these readers thinking? What is their burning desire? What questions do they have? What keeps them up late at night about this topic? What do they fear about this topic? And then, what do they need? What do these readers need? What is the transformation? What is the result? What do they need to have at the end of the day? What do they need to walk away with? According to Joseph Campbell, the 9th step of the epic hero's journey is to bring home the magic elixir. That is what you need to do in this book at the end. You want to bring home for your enclave, your audience, your reader, your clients, the magic elixir. But what is it? And by the way, don't make that elixir super convoluted, super complex. Keep it very simple. So now you have an idea. And if you don't know, I am a master mindfulness practitioner. I am also a master neuro-linguistics practitioner. Those are areas of genius in my wheelhouse. So I'm always looking to include those areas when I'm writing. So we hear a lot about millennials, Gen X, Gen Y, and so I decided that for the purposes of this training, I'm going to concentrate on millennials, and because one of my strengths is mindfulness, I've jotted down mindfulness for millennials. And I know what you're thinking again, because I'm a secret mind reader. You are saying, okay, great, so we have this idea, and what do we do with it now? Well, you need to start extrapolating some ideas. And so, for instance, I want to know, what would my potential reader, millennials, think about mindfulness? Some of the ideas that came to me that a millennial might think when questioning or being asked, what do you think about mindfulness? These are some of the ideas that I think they might be talking about. One is, I am not that kind of person. They know that mindfulness is a good thing. They've heard that. They've read articles. but they just simply might feel that I am not that kind of a person. Or a millennial might think, I like being a consumer, so I can't be mindful. Millennials might think it's too hard to be mindful, and that it doesn't apply to them. They might think it's too spiritual for me. That's kind of whack and out there, and I'm a STEM researcher and I'm not involved in that. Millennials might think, hey, I'm too busy making money. Catch me in 10 years when my jets begin to cool. They might have this overwhelming constant thought that they're so busy. They're too busy at work. They're too busy freezing their eggs that they don't have any time to be worrying about being mindful. They might think that's lame, new age junk. You know, all the millennials I've met that have a problem with mindfulness always are blaming the fact that they are too busy. But what are some of the reasons a millennial could benefit from mindfulness? Because they're frazzled, they are exhausted, they are stressed, and they are overwhelmed. But what they need to know is that if they want to have increased clarity and focus and be fast and produce and think faster and move faster and collaborate better, they would lean into mindfulness. For instance, people have asked me, how did you finish, copyright, and develop my 47 chapter fiction novel while I was finishing a 2-year graduate program in 23 weeks? How did I do all of that and run my business in 6 months? It's because long ago I found out that mindfulness is not about sitting on a tuffet and trying to shed thoughts from your brain. That is not the purpose of mindfulness. Mindfulness is about becoming the hyper thinker, the person with the increased vitality and energy and creativity and eagerness. And those are the secret reasons why a millennial would want to know about mindfulness. So, what are some other reasons that if we were to pull the veil back on the millennials, why are they likely not really engaging in mindfulness? Because I can tell you it's not those surface or micro reasons that are those macro reasons that we just addressed. It's about the micro reasons, they have the deep fears that we all have. They have imposter syndrome fear. They are afraid they're going to be found out. And by becoming mindful, they might slip and not be the uber aggressive, overachieving, stressed out, caffeinated hybrid that they think they are. They have fear-based thoughts around shame. They feel that they are inadequate, just like all humans do. They have a fear of failing. They have a fear of being unworthy and inadequate. They have a fear of being unlovable. And they have the Mac Daddy fear of all. The very same fear that every single individual on the face of the earth has is the fear of rejection. These are what cause the negative thoughts that make millennials avoid mindfulness practices. But these are the thoughts that make it absolutely critical that millennials or anyone else have a mindfulness practice. So, knowing all of this, me to MindMap this topic. Well, what it did is it provided me with some specific topics that I know can help the millennials. The concept of compassion and wisdom and regeneration and connection. The millennial that lacks clarity and focus and who needs vitality and regeneration and creativity and peace, they're going to want to hear about hot button mindfulness. And so at the end of the day, what do I have? Not even at the end of the day, at the end of 2 short hours, what do I have? I have a fully fleshed out book title and 11 chapters plus a summary conclusion. And I am ready to now start drafting the book. So what did I get here? I have a working title, Millennial Mini Mindfulness Methods for Success, Ease, and Abundance. The first thing that I'll want to pay attention to is a compelling intro. I'm going to want to identify myself and why I'm the expert in this area. And then I'm going to want to talk about the why, the who, and the how in a brief introduction. Then I want to immediately move into the table of contents. And so chapter 1, I would talk about mindful talk, affirming others in a challenging dialogue moment. Now, why is that golden? Well, because in the workplace, we are constantly navigating a challenging dialogue. We have other humans that are around us, and not everybody is on the same page as we are. We have difficult conversations, and not just at work, at home too. In fact, we have difficult conversations at the doctor's office, in the grocery store, and so having a mindful tool to learning how to affirm others as a mitigating device in challenging dialogue is going to be golden. Chapter 2, Mindful Dynamics. What does that mean? Well, there I'd be talking about interrelationships, both at work and at home, and what the power behind mastering apologies really means. What that would speak to is understanding that leaders in our homes or in our businesses, we as leaders want to be able to cough it up when we've done wrong, when we've made mistakes, when we've erred. And so I'd want to talk about mastering the apology in a mindful way. It will make you a stronger, better leader. You will have a happier contingency both at work and home, and more work, better results will happen. Chapter 3, Mindful Regeneration. Sleep is so critical, and so many of us are not sleeping. So I'm going to apply that to the millennials. Sleeping doesn't happen if you've got Netflix playing, in the background. You really are not sleeping. I would love to teach a chapter on how to access deep healing sleep through mindfulness. Next chapter, Mindful Compassion, observing human frailty. Why might that be a good chapter? Well, not only millennials, but everyone could benefit from understanding humility and incorporating that into our life. Now, humility gets a bum rap. The actual definition of humble is to be teachable. And it's never a bad thing to be teachable. Next chapter, mindful connection. I'd want to talk about vulnerability. It's not an accident that the 4 top selling business books are all written by Brene Brown, and they're all talking about vulnerability at some point or another. It's an important concept. In fact, it's more important than ever, especially with the onset of hypertechnology and artificial intelligence. Vulnerability, emotional intelligence, empathy, and mindfulness are the keys to the future. Okay, why? Because we're humans and artificial intelligence isn't. We need these skills. Next chapter, mindful aspiration. What does that mean? Well, I think there's a new playbook. I think that we are shifting away from the way things used to be done, and we're coming into a more mindful way of being. We definitely want to aspire to be our best, to be at the top of our game, but there is a better way to do it, one that shuns over perfection, one that shuns pushing, and instead encompasses and embraces ease and confidence. And that confidence and ease comes through mindfulness. The next chapter, mindful wisdom. I don't think enough people know, let alone harness, the wisdom that's gone before us. There are ancient wisdom civilizations that have known things way before we ever even thought of it. And I think it would be really good to dive into some of that ancient wisdom because A, it's ancient, and B, it's wisdom. We all could use we could all use more of that. If you knew what it was, you would want it. And I want to write a chapter about it. Mindful integrity. Well, along with that new playbook, I need to include the concept of integrity and personal integrity. In fact, my mentor, Martha Beck, teaches a concept called the integrity cleanse. And when you have strict integrity in your life actually works better. I want a chapter about that, how to do it in a mindful way. Mindful happiness. What do I want to talk about? Well, I want to teach that there's a difference between an experiencing in the moment happiness and that which is remembered. And there are nuances involved in that, but understanding the difference and learning a mindful way to be presently happy is a chapter that I definitely want to write. Mindful reengineering. Okay, so this is going to speak to my training in neurolinguistics. So I put down harnessing jealousy, but it could be harnessing any negative behavior. What creates the behavior is fear-based thoughts, okay? Nothing else. We run amok constantly with thoughts that are jamming up our circuitry, jamming up our brain. They are uninvited. They create misperception. They create assumptions. They create hostility. They create, war. And that is the first place that we need to start, is learning retrainment of our thoughts. And I want to teach it in a mindful way. I'd want to end my book with mindful hope. Learning to take that neurolinguistic programming and be able to create happiness in the moment, create happiness on a dime. And it doesn't mean ecstatic, hands in the air, I'm going down a roller coaster happiness. I'm talking about going from being disgruntled and depressed or belligerent and difficult to being manageable and pliable and adaptable and open-minded and collaborative. That's what I would want to speak to in that chapter for millennials. Of course, I need to create a killer summary with a very strong, enticing transformation. I'm going to want to include a resource page, and I want to invite those that are lit up by this book to now come and work with me personally, either for my coaching or my business consulting or for my aspiring authors. So that would be, what I'd like to offer in the way of a book. Now, what did this take me to come up with all of this? 1 to 2 hours, and the commitment to sit and, I want to also admit that I always use a pen and paper when I'm drafting these kind of things before I go and figure out the presentation. So I want you to sit and get out a piece of paper and start mind mapping. So that's the end of this training, and I really enjoyed having you here. I will look forward to the next training. I apologize for that little glitch there. I had a technical snafu just a few slides back, but I think it's all going to work out good. And my motto, keep it simple, don't sweat the small stuff, and nothing is all overly taxing. Okay, keep it simple, keep it happy, and keep it good. Keep it good, keep it tight. All right, I will see you on the next training.